Hi, and welcome to another edition of the Sustainable Scoop. Arlington's economic development team and developers around the county have set their sights on their next makeover. It's Westover. And here to discuss the future of the community of Westover is County Board Chair John Vihstadt and Kirit Mookergie, who is the chair of the Tenant Landlord Commission. Welcome.
Good to be here. Miriam, I should just add, though, I'm not chair quite yet.
Oh, you're not chair of the board yet.
Right. Yeah. Be careful there. My colleagues might have a heart attack if you say, if they hear that.
Well, soon you'll be leading the way.
We'll see.
Which is one of the reasons why your voice really matters in this discussion. Can you tell us a little bit about some of the proposed changes for Westover?
Sure. I mean, I would just say that really right now the focus is on the apartment buildings. It's probably a little bit of an overstatement to say that from an economic development standpoint, the county is going to be coming in and building new buildings or making sweeping changes to the Westover Business District. That's really not true. I mean, Westover is a vibrant, happening, diverse community.
So no makeover.
No makeover, but I would say a little make-up.
I see.
A nip and tuck here and there. With respect to the apartments, there are a number of garden apartments. In fact, there's over 700 garden apartments in Westover on both sides of Washington Boulevard, flanking Patrick Henry Drive, a little bit east of Swanson Middle School. And some of the historic apartments have been bulldozed in favor of market rate luxury townhouses. And we're doing what we can to help ensure that at least some of that market rate affordable housing is preserved for moderate to lower income folks.
And I know that that's a claim that the county board makes, that they're really concerned about preserving affordable housing. But from the perspective of perhaps one of those tenants whose home was bulldozed and they can no longer afford to live in the area, how do the tenants of the community adjust with changes like that, Kirit?
Well, I mean, I think the difficult thing is that the tenants they don't have a lot of rights in the situation where by right property is sold from one party to another, and the tenants get notice. They could qualify for some assistance in the county depending on the circumstances, but a lot of tenants have come together on this issue, and they want to know They want to know what rights they have under the situation, and in worst case scenario, what type of assistance can they get for relocation to stay in Arlington County.
And though they have few rights, like homeowners who have the representation of their civic associations and typically band together with a voice there, how do the renters in Arlington make their voice heard?
Well, the interesting thing is that tenants have been organizing themselves. They've had, over this whole summer, there have been meetings amongst interested tenants, and they've been forming their own organization, and they've been putting out flyers, taping them into the buildings, making email lists, and whatever method they have to communicate with other tenants to get the word out. I mean, they had a picnic at Westover Park, and it's old-fashioned kind of knock on doors, put a flyer under every door and hope that the busy life that a lot of tenants lead, that they're able to attend or able to respond in some way.
And it's great that they're getting involved and raising their voice. John, you touched on a little bit about historic communities. How can developing a delineation of a historic community help to preserve some of what is really, at least in my opinion, a very smart and streamlined and very healthy community in Westover?
Well, there's no question that everybody around Westover, I think, for the most part, prizes the diversity of incomes, of ethnic groups, of businesses, of residents that we have in the greater Westover community. But I think we need to step back and point out really two things that are happening in Westover right now. Number one, in the face of the phenomenon that individual apartment owners in Westover were selling their buildings to developers, and then the developers are coming in and tearing them down for luxury rate townhouses and displacing those tenants. That's about 60 tenants have already lost their homes from the conversion, or really I should say the demolition of affordable units to luxury townhouses.
And those haven't all been relocated.
I'm not sure. I know that our county is trying to assist those who have lost their residence with relocation benefits and so forth. I can't give you the exact details.
Kirit, have they been meeting the demand?
It's impossible to say with 100% accuracy, but not all of them have been relocated in Arlington County, because being a by right development, the county doesn't keep the same kind of statistics.
Right. But certainly to the extent that you've got somebody who's displaced who may qualify for assisted housing, they can certainly apply, and the county will do what they can. But I guess what my point was going to be, Miriam, is that in the face of this, the county really came to the table, reached out to various affordable housing sponsors, the Arlington Partnership for Affordable Housing, APA, the Arlington Housing Corporation, and so forth. So long story short, the county board just a few months ago voted to commit some of our AHIF money, almost $11 million, to the preservation of 68 units in Westover.
That's great news. So I'm glad you touched on that. One thing I want to make sure is that you have an event coming up, or actually a meeting at Swanson Middle School on November 30th.
Correct.
From 6 to 9:30. Everyone is welcome to come. And it's a discussion about these historic areas, making certain areas historic areas in Westover. Will you be there, John?
I'm going to try to be there if I'm not out of town, and I'll just give you a little flavor for what that is all about.
Okay, real quickly.
Right. So in other words, we've dedicated AHIF funds for affordable housing, 68 units. What you're speaking of is a meeting that's going to be sponsored by our HALRB, or Historic Affairs and Landmark Review Board, as to whether or not we should designate the remaining buildings as historic. And that's a double-edged sword, because it may not, or it may enhance affordable housing.
Okay, well we'll leave it at that right now, but I'll just encourage everyone to go to the meeting on November 30th, Swanson Middle School, from 6 to 9:30 to talk about the future of Westover. Thanks for watching the Arlington Weekly News' Sustainable Scoop. Back to the news desk. Thanks, gentlemen.
That's it.